Thank you, Ms. Morales.
Our next candidate is Jaime O Perez. You saw him here earlier, the lead. Well, Mr. Perez, 1 minute opening, and they'll give you 3 questions for each one.
Well, good evening, and thank you for having us here tonight. I wanted to, the most common question that I get, and I think that's a good minute intro, is why I got into this race. And I got into this race because I was deeply concerned about the proposed wall on the border, and I do not like the rhetoric that's demonizing Mexicans and Mexican Americans. I think that's a very, very dangerous thing to do. It's a very divisive thing. And I think it was important. The narratives that I was hearing on television, on radio, were not satisfying for me. And so I said, well, I'm going to run and at least put my opinion on the table for whatever it's worth and whoever wants to listen. Thank you.
Okay, my question is, there are 8 candidates running for mayor. What sets you apart from them, and why are you the best candidate?
I have a great deal of experience in watching politics in El Paso and participating, both at the city and the county over the years. I served under various representatives, under the county judge, and I have worked with department heads. I've watched the development of the budget, and so I have a kind of an organic understanding of how things work. And I also have an organic understanding of the subterfuge that passes for what you see, the top surface of politics, and then what really goes on in the bowels of the politics. And so I think I have something to contribute in that respect.
What are the top 3 priorities that you will address on your first day if you are elected? And because this is International Women's Day, and because women earn less than half of what white men do in this community, what specifically might you do to address gender equality?
The most important thing that I can bring to the table is a change in the conversation. Unlike, I think, most other candidates, I believe that we're looking at an economic crisis in this country. The decisions that are being made today, $1 trillion for infrastructure, $38 to $40 billion for a wall, tariffs on imports from Mexico, you name it. All of those things that are coming out of Washington today are going to impact this community directly. All of the rhetoric that's coming out about migrants, if you look at the impact of the migrant community in terms of total number, total dollar impact, they're minuscule, insignificant. And yet we have elevated them to the enemy because we want to do other things like increase a military budget that's already $600 billion by $54 billion more. Those are the kinds of incongruence, the cognitive dissonance that we're asked to survive in and live in. And we have to change the conversation. So that's the absolute #1 priority. Secondly,
You know, I'm going to let you follow up on this because you put forth a lot of national policies that are going to affect us directly. So let's talk about that a little bit more. So you talked about this severe economic impact, but literally locally, what can you do to react to that? Like what do you as a mayor have influence into that? Like what specifics could you do to alter the economic downturn as you see it come?
Not much. But there are areas that we can take control at the local level. For example, we deposit your tax dollars on Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo is notoriously corrupt. They were caught with a ship in the Yucatan Peninsula with I don't know how many tons of cocaine and laundering money. That's where we deposit your money. They also don't do a whole lot of lending at the local level. We want to stimulate the local economy. We need to put those dollars where they might make a difference. And they will make a difference in the credit unions. They will make a difference in the locally owned banks. If you put the dollars there, those dollars can reach the entrepreneurs and the business people of this community. That's one example of how you can, by changing the conversation and stop just going along with what's going on at the national level, saying what can we do at the local level, that'd be number one. Number two, we really have to look at whether we continue to push these bond programs. Of course we want this and we want that, and other people want all sorts of things. The question is, can we continue to follow the national lead of piling on debt? And I believe we cannot.
You have a 2-minute closing.
Sorry. I do not have all the answers. And one of the things to follow up on the question in another aspect that I want to do on day one is to reach out to you. At the Northeast Forum on Friday, I asked everybody, and I'll ask you, what is the number one problem that you have that you see in this city that you would like addressed? 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, I want you to think of that problem and come up with the number one solution that you think might be helpful. And I'll give you 6 for that. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Why don't we know the solutions that you came up with in this room? That's not on the politicians. We have to get away from giving our power away to authoritarians and to people who will run our lives. We need to take control of our lives. We need to hear your solutions. And I'm going to be there to listen to you.